Hello and welcome, I'm Jonathan Toyad and this is E27's Gaming 101 video series. This show touches upon current trends, genres and the overall culture and business of video games, a thriving multi-million-dollar industry. It's a fast-growing and ever-evolving business, so it's really hard to keep track of it if you're out of the loop even for a fraction of a second. We feel that it's time we explain and educate you on tropes, genres and other nuances so that your inquiries are answered. With that said, strap yourself in. It's game time. He dons red and blue, has a big nose and googly eyes, and sports a bushy mustache. He's been a star in many video games revolving around colorful platforming, go-karting, and the intense game of golf, and screwing people over in parties. It's a him, Mario, Nintendo's icon and corporate face for all things video games, and he has always been there to stay after so many decades. So what makes this digital Italian plumber a star who has stayed consistent since his humble beginnings in the 90s? What makes the character and his games transcend all cultures and races? Why, with all of this talk of blockbuster games like the war-laden Call of Duty series and Assassin's Creed series, has the Nintendo star endured the test of time without much change whatsoever? The answer lies threefold. Let's talk about his character design. The too long didn't read version, Nintendo created a character labeled Jumpman, turned him into a plumber, and named him Mario right after a landlord who demanded back warehouse rents from the company. The company got him to fight crabs in sewers, as well as demon mushrooms, turtles, and sentient plant life in the Mushroom Kingdom. In the early days of video game making, developers only had a few color palettes to work with since machines back then can only display a limited amount of colors. Developer Shigeru Miyamoto and his small team wanted the plumber to have blue and red so that he can stand out from the dark background in the puzzle game Mario Bros. They had to switch up the blue and red in the platformer Super Mario Bros. Since the light blue backgrounds would not mesh well, also system limitations of colors. Instead of giving Mario a distinct hairstyle, he got a cap. This is so that developers won't need to animate his hair as he jumped. The overalls are there to fill up color for his main body, because giving him individual clothing would take up too much time to animate. So to make him distinctive, he got a giant nose and a mustache. The latter was so that developers don't need to worry about mouth and facial expressions. The final pixelated creation was iconic enough to stand out and garner acclaim from young kids and adults everywhere. He eventually represented the face of Nintendo because of his rising popularity. As cartridge size grew and technology scaled, more details are added in the character, though the big nose and mustache were still prominent. Changing that would alienate the audience who grew up with the character. The moral of the story here? Limitation spurts creativity. The most minimalistic of design forces people to create something iconic that can last for years to come. Have you ever noticed that each early stage and section of a Mothership Mario title starts off very easy without having any control tutorial bombarding you? That's because each starting stage uses the show don't tell principle of design. You start off from the left, then you see a bunch of blocks and a lone Goomba enemy coming after you. When you're presented with your gamepad and your buttons, the first common instinct is to find the button that makes you jump, and the button that puts Mario into motion. Now see all that real estate at stage 1-1? That's enough room for you to walk and figure out the obstacles and things in front. Do you jump on the bad guy in front of you? Do you want to know what happens when you jump up and hit the positively flashing block? This is level design at its greatest. It teaches players without words, instead using action and structure. The game is built in that way for every single starting and beginning stage so that players can get eased into the experience, without being stonewalled by either difficulty or text. Later stages throw a lot at you because at that point in time, you should know the basics by now. A particular mechanic in a stage, like rotating platforms or disappearing blocks, will be introduced in a fair manner early on the stage. A player's skill is then put to the test at the last legs of that particular stage. It's easy to create badly designed levels with no thought and care. Thankfully, that isn't the case here with Nintendo's flagship platforming titles. Back in the early 90s, having Mario on something other than a 2D jumping title was considered innovation. Right now, however, Mario is an advocate for 2D platforming, 3D platforming, go-karting, golf, baseball, soccer, brawling, party games, and a bunch of other genres you can't count on two hands. There's a danger in overstretching your company mascot in many different games, but it's not like the developers are doing it without compromising design ideas. The Nintendo R&D team put in as much thought with their go-karting games as they did with their RPGs, party games, and spin-offs. Think of it as using a recognizable cereal mascot like the Cocoa Crunch Koala and putting him in related products like chocolate spreads or chocolate milk. Mario creator and top dog head of development Shigeru Miyamoto said in a recent stockholders meeting that people have an instinctive love for games. It's not only giving reassurance that you're using a good product, but also making sure that it's kept active instead of waiting for 5 years for the next Mario Mothership title. The one chief reason it so perseveres is because of its gold star treatment of its moneymaker, Mario. With those three philosophies of character preservation in mind, Nintendo will remain the world's most memorable game company.